Leadhead. We are back with another episode of the Talking Lead podcast, educating the uneducated since 2012. 10 years of lead goodness, I like to call it. We appreciate all you listeners subscribing, each and every one of you, and supporting us over these past 10 years. And of course, all of our sponsors that make that happen. We're going to give them a few plugs throughout the show here. If you didn't get an opportunity, make sure you go to our last episode, which was probably the AK corner. And we talked about trench art in the last AK corner. We had Brian Keeney with Occam Defense Solutions. We had James Balzac with Factory 47. And James brought along a surprise guest with him. And we talked about the history of trench art, where it came from, kind of the different types. And then, of course, specifically with the AK corner, we were talking about the carvings and things that you see on particular AK-47 furniture and European guns of that nature. So great episode. Make sure you go back, check that out. We gave a lot of shit away. I think we gave away like 5 or 6 different prizes to you lucky lead heads. So go check that out. And then, of course, our last regular episode, I did a blast from the past with our interview from Dugan Ashley, Carnic Con, which that was like 8 years ago. If you guys remember Carnic Con back in the day, he had a awesome YouTube channel, very entertaining, funny type stuff. But that was a good episode. So if you didn't check that out, go check that one out again too. And I'll probably release some more blast from the past episodes for some of our new listeners that maybe haven't had an opportunity to go back and to listen to some of our older stuff. But this episode, we're getting virtual. We're going to go virtual this episode, and we're going to talk about video games, guns and video games, how they go about, I guess, rendering those into your favorite video games and virtual reality type programs. And to help us with this topic today, we've recruited one of Leviathan's brightest stars, employees, Chris Deeb with Leviathan Group. And as we had Leviathan Group on a few episodes back, we had Chris Wood. And these guys do everything from movies to TV shows to video games to actually manufacturing their own firearms. And Chris happens to be on the virtual reality side of this. So, Chris, welcome in.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
I don't know if I did justice as to what you actually do. You're telling me you're like a product placement specialist.
That's it.
I guess concentrating on the video game market.
Absolutely. Trying to get everything from our world one-to-one recreated in the game world and done so honestly.
Honestly, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, we could use a little more honesty in our video games. All these cheaters.
Oh God, it's terrible.
Yeah. Also joining me this episode, it's been a while since we've had him on. A longtime leadhead and regular guest of the show is our good buddy Nick Atkinson. Nick, welcome in.
What's up? Good to be back. It's probably been, 2 years?
It's been a minute. Yeah. I can't remember. Did we talk about a bear hunt
show 2 years ago? No, that we did that. I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember the last thing I think it was SHOT Show 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago.
It's been too long. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's been way too long. So, should I say former 3-gunner competition shooter, or are you still, I mean, is that still a thing, or? I'm pretty much done. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like once you're done with it, I guess, it's like just kind of, it doesn't really trail off. It's just, you don't go to a few matches and you're like, man, I forgot what putting this much effort into other things really feels like. You kind of get to a point where it becomes a job, and then you're like, it was my job. That's what I did full time, right? So Yeah.
Once you get to that point, you're like, if I put this much effort into a real job, how successful could I be? You know.
And I think
So,
you've seen the silver lining in that too.
yeah, no, I mean it's
Unfortunate for the competition scene, but I mean you're doing what you love and enjoying it. Gives you more time probably to go hunt.
yeah, I mean less of a schedule. You know, it went from a hobby to a job, and that's when things become a little bit less exciting. So whenever you can dial it back and do a real job, and then go back and just do the fun stuff whenever you want, you kind of realize why you were doing it in the first place.
There you go. And also, and I don't think we've ever talked about this, but you were a collegiate golfer. Did we ever talk about that?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, I play golf. I probably play golf more than I shoot now.
So are you still swinging the sticks?
Every once in a while, we play up at my office. We always go play some charity events during the summer. So, you know, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times a year.
See, I didn't know that.
It's got to be cheaper.
Cheaper.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to reload as much.
Some of those greens fees, you know.
Well, if you go play the tournaments and it's all corporate
That's
stuff,
true.
You know, I'm not paying.
Playing the scramble matches and whatnot.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we got Nick on here because he's got a lot of hands-on experience, obviously with firearms, different kinds of firearms, and that's kind of what we're going to do. Is we're going to talk with Chris about the ins and outs of what goes into actually taking a real gun and putting it into a video game, a quality video game where they're trying to capture the realism of the firearms. And we're going to talk to Chris about that. Right, the realism. And Chris does a lot of shooting himself. So we're going to get into the research that he does behind his guns, and we're going to kind of compare some different video games to actual real guns and how well they've actually captured the guns, the accessories, the movement, just the realism overall. So that's going to be the main topic of the day today. But before we get into that, we want to thank all the sponsors for the Talking Lead podcast that make each and every episode possible. Mission First Tactical. You guys can go to missionfirsttactical.com, and they're going to hook you up with a discount, 20% off. Use the code LEADHEAD, all lowercase LEADHEAD, and you're going to get 20% off any of your purchases there at Mission First Tactical. And as you've seen me before, they do awesome 30-round AR magazines. They've got AR-10 magazines. They've got windowed magazines. They do holsters. And, of course, they do our logoed dump trays, which we call armorer's trays, because I use these when I'm cleaning my guns or doing some sort of gun project. These things work really well for that. Or if you're at a party, and you want to serve drinks on them, they're great for that too. Do your shot glasses. But they call them dump trays. So, you dump your pockets at the end of the night, throw your stuff in there. You're not scratching up your furniture. Really cool little piece of kit to have. You go to Mission First Tactical. And of course, they've got furniture for your AR-15 as well. Got one here with their handguard on it. And for you watching on the video, here's their grip and their new minimalist buttstock that's in aluminum. They make a polymer one as well, but this one is their new one, and it's in aluminum. And I really like it, enjoying it on this new build that I just did using a lot of their products. Seal 1, when you build that gun, you want to keep it clean and protected. You go to seal1.net, use the code LEADHEAD. You're going to get 25% off there. And they've got these nice little complete gun care kits that's got their paste, their liquid, their bore patches, which are pre-soaked with their product. And they've got those in your specific calibers, size for your specific calibers. So just tell them which caliber you want it for. And you'll get one of these cool kits. It's got a cloth, it's got a brush. And then you can buy these products separately. They've got an aerosol as well, which I really like using the aerosols when I'm doing my cleaning. Check them out, seal1.net, for all your gun cleaning and care needs. And then, guys, we're going to NRA this year. You guys going to NRA in Houston?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
So Leviathan's not going to be going. Nick's not going to be going. But guess who's going?
I mean, Leviathan might be there, but I'm not going to be.
I think I talked to Wood about it, and I think he said that they're just going to be walking around. But we're going to be there, and we're going to be at Kel-Tec's booth. Kel-Tec is the official lead quarters of the Talking Lead podcast for the 2021 NRA in Houston this year. So if you guys are going to be there, you lead heads are going to be there, walking around, checking everything out, make sure you come by Kel-Tec's booth. And we're going to have some cool swag giveaways. We're going to have shirts. We're going to have these dump trays from Mission First Tactical. We might have some tactical wallets for Mission First Tactical as well. But we'll have some cool stuff as always. First come, first serve on those. But just come by, say hey, because you never know who's going to stop by, be on the show during those events. I never know until I get there. It's always a surprise to me too. So we're going to have a good time. Go show Kel-Tec some love. Let them know how much you appreciate them sponsoring us at the 2021 NRA in Houston. So guys, we want to take care of some jack wagons and honor some heroes before we get into our main topic here. So Gunny, bring in that jack wagon train.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold 'em high at 8th and I. It is time for the Talking Lead Jack Wagon of the Week, so brace yourself, baby.
All right, the train has stationed, and we've got a few jack wagons that we want to take care of this week. It's been a while since we've done one. So what I want to do first, I want to go to our guest, and I'll start with Chris. Chris, do you have any jack wagons that we need to put on the train that the Gunny can haul off for us?
Oh man, yeah. The White House yesterday calling for phone companies to monitor text messages and calls for misinformation. That's
got to be shitting me.
Nope, that's a big one for me. Tim Pool put a video out covering it pretty well, and yeah, that's a big nope for me. Don't like that.
That's got to be a big note for, I would think, every single American. I would hope.
I hope even other countries are very much against it. I'm not a fan of that because once that starts, it immediately turns into a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. So the little bit that I've heard about it is that the reasoning behind it is for the vaccinations. Is to stop people discouraging, I guess, others from
spreading misinformation is what they said. But here's what I don't get: where do you draw the line between free speech and I mean, I guess misinformation is free speech, right? So
yeah,
I'm free to lie to you as much as I want. You don't have to listen to me.
Well, you used to be.
If you're censoring me telling a lie, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of misinformation. I want to know the truth, right? It's like you should edit in some X-Files sound effects. The truth is out there. But why does the government think that they can regulate what I say to other people unless I'm threatening people or, harming other people?
Well, social media has set the bar, They have gone in with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and they're setting the bar for these private companies to go in and do the government's work.
It's
but
not,
their argument
it's not government overreach.
Platform, right?
Yeah, it's not government overreach if a private company does your dirty work for you.
Yeah, the government subsidizes all these companies.
Yes.
Here's what I don't get on that whole deal is because and then you get in the argument of what point does it become a public platform, because most people get their news from Twitter or most people get their news from Facebook or whatever, So then, like, how can you say that they can censor someone when that's where people are going to read the news or hear from the president or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. And then that's up to our elected officials to help, draw that line. And of course, that's us telling them what we think the line is. And you've got to be active. You got to be vocal. You can't just sit back and ride the pine. You got to get involved.
Yes. Yes. If you don't, instead of arguing over SBRs being regulated or not, you're arguing over why you can't have braces now. And that's all from inactivity. And luckily, we have companies out there, FPC for one, fighting the good fight. But now they're fighting over braces, and
yeah,
we should be a little
and
past
that's their goal, is to get us fighting over little small things,
Yes.
while they're doing other big things over here.
It's an erosion of rights, little by little.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you never knew any different, then you don't think it's a big deal.
Yep. This is true.
Very good jackwagon to kick us off with there. I like that one. Nick, you got a jackwagon?
Yeah, well, I got two, and I think we've talked about this on other episodes. I could do hours and hours and hours on jackwagon, just sit here and complain about everything.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about Activision since we're doing video games, but we can do that also. Since they're, we're going to talk about Call of Duty and Warzone specifically, and how there's no anti-cheat, right? I mean, like, every single game you get in has a cheater. It's just a matter of how bad they are at cheating.
Right.
So that was the one I was originally going to do, but then we started talking politics, and I think I'm going to have to say the Democratic Party of Texas, the Texas Democrats. Did you see this, where they staged a walkout and fled the state to prevent a vote?
Yes.
In the special session that the governor called. So
I did see that. Yeah.
Two things, and it's they left on like I don't even know, $1 million luxury bus, and then they got on a private jet and supposedly flew to Washington, D.C. So who paid for the bus? Who paid for the jet? Like,
Yeah.
The hotels, taxpayers. Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that it was privately funded, but
Oh, really?
I haven't heard. I was reading about it hours and hours ago, and I haven't read who paid for all this.
That's not a bad theory, honestly. Considering the amount of fanfare and positive press they received, and then the vice president and the president want to sit down and talk with them, and because they're on their way to DC. I mean, it does have a bit of theatrics going on with it.
Oh yeah, they're just doing it to make a big deal out of it.
Here's an article here, New York Times. I guess they want me to have an account, so fuck the New York Times. I'm not going to read their story.
Oh yeah, you can't read anything on.
I've got the Houston Chronicle. Deploy law enforcement, Texas GOP mules, options for elections bill after Democrats leave the state. This was, how long ago was this? This was today. It says, after House Democrats left the state Monday in an attempt to block passage of a GOP election bill during the special legislative session, attention turned to the Republicans and what they can do to get the priority legislation passed. House Speaker Deeb Phelan, Phelan, said in a statement that afternoon that the chamber would use every available resource under the Texas Constitution and the unanimously passed House rules to secure a quorum to pass items on special sessions agenda, which was set by Governor Greg Abbott, and a number of House Republicans indicated that they would support what's known as a call of House. This is all boring shit to me. So
yeah, well, so
fuck all that.
It leads straight into my hero. So we'll get to that next. But go ahead with yours.
With my jackwagon?
Yeah.
Okay. So before I do mine, I'm going to go to some listener jackwagons because we haven't done those in a while. And we've got one here. I may have done this. David Chipman. So we've done David Chipman. That's an older one. This one, Jeffrey Haddix. San Jose mayor rolls out new gun control proposal days after rail yard mass shooting. So this was a little while back, but this is something that we need to definitely talk about. I'm going to stop this video before it gets going here. Or maybe I won't catch it before it starts. But what they're basically trying to do is California's got the most gun laws probably of any state, maybe next to Chicago. And they keep wanting to add more and more. So this guy's wanting to add, I think, 10 more gun laws, which one of those is to require gun owners to carry insurance. They're going to make it a requirement. San Jose wants to force gun owners to carry insurance and pay fees. The fees will be used to reimburse the city for the public cost of gun violence.
That's ridiculous.
Oh my God. So the San Jose City Council unanimously advanced a number of novel gun control proposals, including requirements that gun owners carry liability insurance. This is just like car insurance. I think that should be outlawed as well, but that's my opinion. And that they pay a fee to cover the public cost of gun violence. While the Second Amendment protects the rights to bear arms, it does not require taxpayers to subsidize gun ownership, said San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo in a Tuesday press release. We won't magically end gun violence, but we will stop paying for it. These proposals come a month after a workplace shooting at a light rail facility in San Jose left 10 people dead, including the shooter. And it goes on to talk about that, so you can read more about that if you want to. I'm reading from reason.com, free minds and free markets. That's a new one to me.
Here's the thing. You know, driving your car on a public roadway is not actually a constitutional right? But
Yes.
right to bear arms is. So, I mean, you're basically telling people that they can't, unless they do X, Y, Z.
Well, it's unlawful to require taxes on a constitutional right, too.
Right.
That is actually illegal.
So, there you go.
Well, the other thing that it is just another layer of elitism. Where you're moving to make people that are lower income unable to fend for themselves, where this is nothing compared. For rich people, this hits somebody who's probably in an area where they need a gun the most. It's going to make that just one more barrier, one more cost they have to layer in there, and
it's a deterrent. It's definitely a deterrent to own a gun, to own a firearm, and it's illegal. It's absolutely illegal what they're trying to do.
Wasn't there just a judge that struck down the assault weapons ban in California?
Yeah, what was his name? We talked about him.
He could be a hero.
Benitez, Judge Benitez. Yeah, he definitely was a hero. He's on there, but he gave it like a 30-day stay or 90-day stay or something like that. And of course, they're appealing it just like they appealed the last one that he did with the magazine ban. He deemed that unconstitutional, and they put a stay on it, and they still can't own those magazines there, even though it was ruled unconstitutional.
Yeah,
still fighting that in court. So I think that's completely wrong. While this judge deemed it, unconstitutional. That should lift it all the bans, all the laws, everything preventing them from owning them at that moment, and they should be able to own those until they figured out that, that if they're going to appeal it, they appeal it. But it shouldn't be the opposite way. Once this judge made it unconstitutional, then all that shit should be lifted, and they should be able to flood that stuff in there as much as they want to. Buy the magazines, buy the guns, not the opposite, where they're preventing them until they can figure out a way to overturn it. And I got to get a sip of Jack on that one. Not a sponsor of the Talking Lead podcast, but a damn good motivator for the show. I must say. And that was going to be my jack wagon also. I was going to throw this dweeb on the jack wagon train too. So Leadhead, Jeffrey Haddix, thank you for sending that in. We appreciate it. If any of you other leadheads have jackwagons you want to nominate, send them in, talkingled@gmail.com, and put jackwagon nomination or something like that in the subject. So my jackwagon, is the U.S. women's soccer team. And this happened maybe a week or so, a couple weeks ago. July 6th, I think, is when this article was published, Fox Sports. So basically what happens is, they play the national anthem during United States sports events. It says the U.S. soccer disputed allegations the women's national team disrespected a World War II veteran and the American flag before their Olympic send-off match against Mexico on Monday. A video circulated on Twitter showing some of the U.S. players facing away from the harmonica playing Pete Dupree, while other team members faced forward. Some players had their hands behind their backs, while others had their hands placed on their hearts, which is where they should be. Whether they respect the American flag or America or what, they're playing and representing the United States. It's not a platform for them to be political. I wholeheartedly believe that, and I believe that every one of those players should be kicked off the team for that. You've got a World War II veteran that's out there. I mean, he's probably got to be, 100 at least by now.
90, 95 probably at least.
Yeah. Playing the national anthem on his harmonica. I mean, that fact alone, they should just respect their elders for one. But this guy, put his life and everything on the line, and to show him that disrespect, I mean, I don't care what your political views are, that's just wrong.
Yeah, why would you be on the U.S. soccer team if you don't want to represent and show patriotism for the United States? Yeah, like same way with the Olympics. That chick from the Olympics.
States team.
Yeah.
That's what it should be. That's what it should boil down to, is that they show disrespect to our country. They're on the team. They get kicked off. They're off. I mean, it should be an automatic. You're out of here, buddy. The story.
That's where I'm at, man.
Yeah, the story goes on, says, and while anger and outrage grew, U.S. Soccer said it was misplaced. To be clear, no one turned their back on the World War II veteran Pete Dupree. Bullshit. That's exactly what they did. During tonight's anthem, some USWNT players were simply looking at the flag on a pole in one end of the stadium. The players all loved Pete, thanked him individually after the game, and signed a ball for him, the organization tweeted. Of course, you're covering your ass.
Yeah.
You go and ask them personally what they were doing, they'll tell you. They were protesting. So looks like the U.S. soccer is trying to save face by spinning this a different way. But there's a picture. Let me just share my screen here.
Hey, here's the thing. Nobody was watching anyway. It's women's soccer.
Women's soccer is pretty huge. They got a pretty big damn following. So here's
I guess it's more than women's basketball.
Yeah. Here's a Twitter video. I don't know if I can play this or not, but I'm playing it. So this is showing them come up and sign a soccer ball, and I don't know if all of them are coming up and signing it or not, but that's the gentleman there.
Do you think the coach was treating him like kids? Like, you will go sign that soccer ball right now.
You go sign Joe's soccer ball.
So my thing with all this, like, I think I have probably a more libertarian view on this one. Well, maybe. My thing is, all right, so if you don't like the national anthem and you want to burn, the American flag, I don't have to like it, but it's a free country, and you know what, do your thing. However, you can't do that and also be like on the
representing
USA.
the US.
Yeah, you can't, because you look like an idiot. You look like a hypocrite. Like, I'm sorry, I hate this place. However, you know, I do like the perks I get for being, you know, on the sporting team. It's ridiculous, and I try it as best I can to.
No, I'm with you.
Live
Yeah,
and, live and let live.
you have the right
you
to
know?
do it.
Yeah,
You have the right to do it, but you also have the right to get kicked off the team.
Exactly. Right. Right. And I wish more people had balls to just draw lines like that, because I mean, you know, I'm the socialists, you know, have their own shooting teams now, and you know that's fine, but I'm never gonna go be on, you know, their shooting team, and I like I don't represent that. I wouldn't want to be there to represent that by my presence. So it's just normal stuff. It's like I don't get it. I don't understand why they would want to be on the team. Just I guess, you know, to immediately turn around and take that approach to it.
Yeah. No other skill set, I guess. That'd be my guess.
It's entirely possible.
Right. I mean, they want to play soccer. They enjoy playing soccer. They want to, you know, reap the benefits that the game has given them and the country has given them playing the game. But yet they want to disrespect the country.
Go play for China.
Yeah.
Venezuela. All right, so that's my jackwagon. Enough said about that. Cuba. Enough said about that. But again, if you guys have jackwagon, send them to me, talkinglet@gmail.com. My hero is Pete Dupree, the World War II veteran there.
Right
he is
on.
definitely my hero. I had another one. I'm gonna let you guys. Do you have heroes? And I'll get to my other hero.
So your wagon led into your hero. Mine does too. Our senator, our governor here in Texas, Greg Abbott, has said that all of the Democrats that left the state will be arrested and brought back to the Capitol. So
can he do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
It's legal. There's a provision there to do exactly that. So
that is awesome. I hope he does that.
I mean, he will if they don't voluntarily come back. Yeah.
If they don't come back. That's, oh my gosh. All right, Chris, what about you? You got a hero?
Well, let's see. Two, I guess. We'll go through two because they're both, you know, pretty good. I would say Firearms Policy Coalition for always being in the trenches.
Okay.
Just absolutely. They started late in the game, so they got a lot of ground to cover. And as mentioned earlier, my friend L, somebitchtoldme.com, a researcher and firecracker. She also goes by @LHatesYouAlot on Twitter, and she's a nut and a great person and does not bite her tongue, and she repeatedly gets banned from things. So that's two heroes for me.
This is her website, somebitchtoldme.com. It says cite your source or get the fuck out.
She adheres to that. There's t-shirts. It's great.
Really cool. So just an example, we don't need no education as Delta variant spikes in British school students are caught faking positive COVID-19 tests. There's an article there. Here's a 10 COVID TikToks that make me want to end it all. The Biden administration seeks to expand funding for 1994 crime bill programs. So yeah, she's got some interesting stuff here. So if you guys get an opportunity, go check out somebitchtoldme.com. And what was her name? L that we said?
L. Yeah.
L.
I won't give her full name.
Maybe we can get her on the show sometime. That would be fun.
I will talk to her. I think she would be great for that.
Very cool. Very cool. And then stop sharing. I'm going to look. I think I've got some Leadhead nominations here. Let's go check these real quick. For Lead Brigade heroes. See, Ed Burton, Good Samaritan, John Hurley, that was killed after stopping a cop killer from killing others in, it's like Arvada, Colorado. You guys familiar with that?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I am. That was pretty hot topic on Twitter and the circles I run in. Also, some alarming takes from police officers that I saw in that as well.
Do tell us about that, because I'm not familiar with this.
Okay, so I guess a brief recap of the event. There was an active shooter. This was a concealed carry holder, and he was just out shopping. Guy immediately executes a police officer. He starts shooting others. This guy runs at the gunfire. He assesses and drops the shooter, picks up and secures the rifle. Police cruisers pull up and light him up as soon as they get on the scene, and they killed him. And it's I think the interesting take I saw from a police officer on Twitter, he was like, if I hear officer down and I see people with a gun, they're getting nuked, was his exact words. And that was a huge thing. And he was, I guess, part of the.
Should have been fired immediately.
Well, he's got a screen name and a moniker. I don't think anybody truly knows who he is, in real life. But the problem with that is probably the mindset of that, because it was not a one and done. I mean, he was doubling down on it. Other cops were weighing in, and it's like, well, we got to get home at the end of the night. And it's like, look,
I mean, here's the problem. So, I mean, I was a cop for 10 years, and, I thought about this situation every single day I went to work. What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? Whatever. We do training on it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could understand if the police show up and the good guy is shooting the bad guy and they yell at him and he doesn't hear him or whatever and he gets shot. I can see that happening. I mean, it'd be unfortunate, right? But if you roll up and the bad guy's dead and the good guy's not actively shooting anyone, I mean, hey, drop the gun, You don't just pull up and blast somebody because they said officer down on the radio.
Yeah, there's got to be some level of threat assessment, and I understand, but I think the critical statement that was made that really kind of got to me in his telling was, they said, well, he was standing there with an AR-15, so I'm obviously going to light him up, and I was like, wow, okay.
Why?
But it's like that was the actually, you know what? Hang on, guys. I got a tweet for you. I do have it actually here. Let me I'll send it to you.
I'll pull it up. Send it to me and I'll pull it up on the screen here.
I mean, that, like you said, there has to be some level of threat assessment. I don't know. I wasn't there, but if it happened the way you initially told it happened, those cops are responsible for what they did. I mean, there's every shot you fire, you're responsible for, whether it's right or wrong. And you have to take some level of ownership. Accidents do happen. I feel like people in this society have forgotten that accidents happen. There's yes, you're responsible for that accident, but did you do it intentionally? Was it with malice? No. But in the case of you roll up, you see somebody holding a gun, so you shoot them. I mean, hey, in Texas, I don't know about Colorado. In Texas, it's legal for me to walk around with a rifle. So. Yep. If I just get shot because I'm holding it, that's wrong.
You can click on the screenshot there. He ultimately caught enough backlash that I think he deleted.
Click on this one or this one?
The top one, because that was his initial response, and so I screenshot it. Yeah.
Rusty Shackelford was the supposed police officer, and we don't even know if he's a police officer or not.
Oh no, I was pretty sure. Some of his other department buddies are on Twitter, so I mean, it's pretty well established that they're all cops.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and so
That's
was he shooting when he got shot, or was he finished shooting?
Oh no, it was already done, and he had secured the rifle and gotten it away from the actual shooter.
Yeah, and that may have been a bad decision. but
And in hindsight, I mean, it's a tough call because you're taught to secure a weapon. I mean, dropping down, maybe clearing it and chucking that magazine far away would be a good idea. But
or just like you said, clear the weapon, pitch it in the corner, and just stand there and hold cover.
Training that you can take. There's people that train what to do in situations like that and how to not get shot. I mean, the best to increase your odds of not getting shot by the good guys.
Yeah, and I'm not blaming the guy at all, but that there probably could have been better things done. But I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of a situation where I responded to a call and there was someone who was armed who wasn't a police officer or was in plainclothes that I didn't personally know. And I'm sure it happened, but I can't think of it specifically because nobody ended up getting shot. So it doesn't stand out in my mind. But that's like blowing a red light going to a call. It happened every day, so you don't really remember one. But I can think of very specific times where you arrive on scene and there is somebody absolutely like pinning somebody to the ground, grinding their face in the pavement, and they obviously make it known, and you can tell, well, that's the good guy holding the bad guy down that just kicked somebody's ass or whatever, So, I mean, you run up in that situation where there's an officer down, been shot, and multiple shots fired, and who knows how much information you've got. But if the guy's hanging out there, I don't know, like I said, I don't know the circumstance, but I assume he's holding the rifle going, hey, I'm the good guy. You don't just shoot him,
They won't release the dash cam or body cam or anything like that. Apparently, I don't know what's going on there. And I think witness testimony. There's a lot of people watching that spoke out and said no. The cops pulled up and shot that guy immediately. They were trying not to address the fact that they were the ones that shot him, and it was public outcry from people that dude saved. Like they were like, no, the cops killed him.
There needs to be as much public outcry for that shooting as there are for the BLM protests and the shootings that occur there. There needs to be even more because this guy was a good guy.
And the argument of, well, we got to go home at night. I don't want somebody cutting my bootlaces off. I want to be able to take my boots off when I get home. Mm-hmm. Yes, to an extent, but at the same time, you have to understand that you took that job. There's risk in that job. You put yourself at risk to do the job, and there's a chance that in doing your job, you're going to be injured or killed. It's that's like somebody running away from you and you not chasing them because it's dangerous.
And what if you pulled up and shot a Fed or a plainclothes or undercover?
Well, isn't it in Chicago now? The police can't chase anyone on foot in a vehicle, or
that's a lot of places now. That's a lot of places.
They can't.
But that's because the department doesn't want the liability, and they say, "Look, it's too dangerous. We'll catch him later." Okay, well, you let that guy go. He kills 10 people and sets a church on fire. I mean, like,
which
you did the crime, you do the time. You need to get caught.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's a good hero there. Good nomination, Leadhead Ed. We appreciate you sending that in. My nomination for hero, and did I share my screen? Yep. Is the Sheepdog Impact Assistance organization. They're having a climb for a cause, Kilimanjaro. And we need some donations from you guys. I've had Sergeant Major Lance Nutt on the show several times. I've been to their charity events. I've helped them with their disaster recovery missions that they've done all across the nation, and they've even gone to some foreign countries. But they've got a group of disabled veterans that they're going to be taking to Mount Kilimanjaro. They're going to climb it, and they're trying to raise $100,000. I think it's supposed to be $100,000. They're missing a zero there. Here it is over here, $100,000.
Or are they missing a period, and it's supposed to be $100, 0 cents?
I think it's going to be $100,000 is what they're.
Okay, that makes more sense.
they're trying to do. So here are the climbers. You've got Noah Galloway, Travis Strong. Here's Scott West, which I went on a hog hunt with Scott. Scott and I did the Vietnam veterans hog hunt, where we had those two Vietnam veterans that we took out. Had a great time with them in Texas. Sebastian Gallegos, probably saying that wrong. And then there's Michael Nimmo, and then there's Sergeant Major. He's going to be there. Anthony Madison, George Chamel. Butchering these guys' names, I'm sure, but these are the climbers. This is everybody they're trying to send on this Mount Kilimanjaro climb, and it's climbforacause.com is where you go and you can donate for this. And Sheepdog Impact Assistance, they're a great organization for our wounded law enforcement, military men and women, first responders. They help the whole first responder community in our military. And it's just a wonderful organization. I'm proud to be a part of it. And you guys can take part, donate. You can volunteer. This is their website here, sheepdogia.org. And talks about all their different programs. They have outdoor adventures. They do, like I said, the disaster recovery missions. So just a great organization to get involved with, and a great bunch of people there. So go check them out. Help donate for that Kilimanjaro climb. Let them know you're a lead head. All right, Nick, did you do your hero? Did you have a hero?
Yeah, it's the governor. It's easy.
The governor.
Yeah, I had another one, but I don't remember who it was, so they must not have been that important.
Well, if it comes to you, we can always back that plane back up and come around and pick them up. So all our lead heads get a ride on Lead Force One to any destination that they choose. All right, Gunny, get that train out of here. We want to talk video games and guns now. Let's get into our topics. Our topic. Our topic. What did I say? Our topic.
Topics.
It's one
Talk
of
it
those
is the
words.
topic that you talk about.
Talk it. I'll talk our talk it points. We're going to talk
Words
it.
are hard.
Yeah. So, Chris,
Sir.
give us a little bit of background, a little bit of your background. How did you get involved with placing firearms into video games? How did this all come about?
Purely accidental. Having a mild footprint in the video game industry, and having always been a shooter, and I had some friends that just happened to be working on stuff, and saw some misinformation posted somewhere. I can't even remember where at one point in time. Just regarding the whole process of, oh, we have to use fake guns, or we'll get sued, and and it was like, whoa, that's not true, because I know quite a few people that work in the industry. That's not true at all. It's just a couple of hoops you got to jump through, and that's how it began. And it started out really small for about 6 weeks, and it just immediately exploded into reaching out and talking and networking with.
Now, were you into developing video games, or?
No, I am like on the technical end of that. No, I don't make them myself. I am definitely the intermediary about getting that real world knowledge down to information they can understand, that makes sense to them, because we could.
You're kind of the interpreter.
Yeah, it's trying to simplify things, and different game engines work with different formulas for how things are done, and so you kind of have to understand how to relay the numerical values to these guys in just terms that they can readily understand.
So I guess what I'm asking is, how did you get that language? How did you get the computer language? Where'd you learn that from?
Always been a PC gamer. my entire life, so I did have an understanding of it prior of how things work. The first year, I kind of had to learn a lot of engine limitations and methods in which they go about just implementing the various changes in video games. I think my first time really understanding things didn't have to be as bad as as I felt like they were compared to real life. Was Rainbow Six Vegas 2 on PC. It was very easy to open it up and actually go through the CFG files and correct the magazine capacities. And then I was like, well, there's actually numerical values here for how the recoil works, and I can speed up the rate of fire and get that correct. And so that was really like the first time I really started playing with something and understanding it. And then here we are now, 5-6 years later. So.
Now, do you work specifically with the PC, or do you work with the console people as well?
Most of what I work on is like painstaking realism focused, or at least balanced close enough to real life as they can get it.
Yeah.
And it's probably a topic that'll come up at some point in this conversation is real life versus gameplay balance. And
yeah. And I just kind of wanted to get for our listeners, give them an idea of, your background and where you come from. So talk about the opposite of that now. Let's talk about your experience with firearms. How did you get involved with the firearm side of things?
I grew up in a country area, and my dad hated guns and did not want he's polar opposite of me. He doesn't speak to me, but that's been the case since I was in my early teens. But he hated guns, polar opposite of me in just about every facet. He definitely would have preferred me being into Dungeons and Dragons and having a pocket protector and all of that sort of thing. And what turned out was a hybrid of both. I'm definitely a dork and definitely all about some gunfight. And it just started that way. My grandfather made certain that I knew how to use firearms. My mom was okay with it. And
was your grandfather military or law enforcement?
He was military, and he did that for a large chunk of his life. And when I was 5 years old, 6 years old, I believe, somewhere around in there, he got diagnosed with Parkinson's, and he was a super athlete, like super athlete. So it took a very long time to kill him. And so I had him as a father figure until I turned 30. And it changed my life. Honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way, because.
What year were you born?
1981.
81. Okay, so 10 years difference. I was born in 71.
Gotcha.
I think Nick's probably in between us.
I'm 12 years younger than you.
Okay, so you're younger than him.
Yep.
So Nick is the babe on the show.
What up, boo?
Uh-huh.
But growing up, the video game, I grew up when the video game came out, in the 70s. The video game consoles.
Yep.
And the home video game, in television, Activision, what was the other one? Nintendo. I don't know if Nintendo was there, but it eventually came along. Atari. Yeah, Atari, that's the one. Atari.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were like, back in the day, it was like you were either in television or you were Atari, kind of thing. It's kind of like you were your Pepsi or Coke, or your,
My grandmother had an Intellivision and a Texas Instruments as well, I believe. And so that was where the love for gaming started.
You say your grandmother?
Yeah.
That's cool. So your grandmother had an Intellivision, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. So so that's kind of, I grew up with video games. They've been a part of my life, and I still dabble a little bit today. I mean, you can see over there Nick's playing Call of Duty. between Call of Duty,
building us some kits to talk about.
Yeah, Call of Duty and what's the other one? Battlefield are kind of the two main ones that I've played. But since they've improved, the Call of Duties, expanded the maps and things, I haven't really played the Battlefield much. But just growing up, seeing the evolution from where they first started to where they are today is just, it's unbelievable. Pong. If you go back to the Pong days and the Pitfall days. I can't remember the first gun game that I had, actual gun game. It's been so long ago. Duck Hunt, I guess, would be probably one of the first.
Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley, I think, was.
Duck Hunt was so good.
Oh, I love Duck Hunt. Yeah, and that little dog that was on there that would go retrieve them for you. Love that.
What was the was it Spy Hunter? That where you're driving the car and it's like you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that game, but yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, that was I have that memory with Duck Hunt.
Had the cool car you drive around. But just to see the evolution from where they are, and then of course you get into the PC gaming, and the realism that they've brought to the PC gamers is just unreal. And that's, you were telling me some of the games that you work on. Talk about some of those games. Tell some of the games that you have personally worked on, Chris.
Some of my favorites are probably Ground Branch, which is great. It's an effort to return to the old days of Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six, back when it was a slow-paced. You really had to think about your actions, or you'd be staring at the ceiling. Excellent title, owned by a vet. The company is, and they're doing some great work. Have some very interesting methods for having gear, because you actually have full access to your Picatinny rails to put optics wherever you want, to put flashlights, lasers wherever you want, and they do the same thing with clothing, and it all has a purpose. And so you can actually structure your mag pouches and everything, the amount you want and where you want them and everything like that.
Is it a first-person shooter?
Yes, it is. It is. And
what game is this?
It's called Ground Branch, and it's currently in development. You can play it in early access on PC, but it's a wonderful group of guys. Something strikes a little more of a balance between arcade and simulation would be Insurgency Sandstorm. Worked with those guys a lot. We actually had my other company, Blacksite. We actually handled a lot of the release marketing for that game as well. And it's great group of guys. A lot more fast-paced, but the realism and the focus on trying to get that gunfight experience correct is definitely there. That would be two that are a good sample size. We have an in-house project we're working on that will be completely free called Operation Harsh Doorstop, and that will be realism focused as well. And that'll be showing up for everyone to just have at later this year. So
and what was so I'm on Ground Branch's website right now. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, you can actually probably look up, if you back out and click on their Steam link. It'll take you to the store page. There'll probably be some videos playing on there that are muted by default generally.
Click on the what?
If you back out to where you searched Ground Branch, next down is the store page for it. Next one, just keep going down to the next entry.
This one?
There you go. Yes, sir.
Okay, and Steam Power, that's the other video game, or no? That's just Ground Branch still. Okay.
All right, yeah, and Steam is just like your PC marketplace. That's where everything's sold on PC.
So this is like some footage from the game here.
Oh yeah, and it's raw gameplay footage. It's not touched up or made to look unnaturally pretty. It's just raw gameplay.
Very cool. So let's talk about how they get a gun, how you take a real gun and then you put it into a video game. What are the steps that they go through to do that? Let's just take an AR-15.
There's
or a Glock. I mean, whichever's easier.
There's a couple of different methods, and it varies on who I'm working with. Some need. It starts generally the process because a lot of times it's laser scanning that I end up doing. So guns get sent to me. I start breaking them down to their base components. I shy away from internal diagrams or anything like that because I don't want to give any trade secrets away. But we get a laser scan of the firearm, and from that point,
what are you using the laser scan it with?
There's places in Atlanta that I'll go in large chunks. They have very expensive laser scanners.
Yeah.
So it's like 70 grand for a scanner. So it's that's one method. The next method is photogrammetry. It's basically a lazy Susan and 1,200 photos, and you just kind of slowly turn and turn and turn and take high-res photos, and they can take it and put it in a piece of software and spin it up, and it makes pretty close to a 3D model that's dead on accurate, and you can just fix it by hand here and there. The last method,
like landscaping all those pictures together to.
Yes, sir, that is correct. The last method is freehand tracing off of really up close high res photos, and that's tricky. That also is the most expensive and the quickest is the laser scanning, and it comes out the best.
And probably the most accurate too, I would think.
It is. The freehand guys are really good. We have some great guys on our team that can do some stuff freehand, but it does result in multiple phone calls about can you take a shot from this angle? Can I get a shot from this angle? And I mean, it's very time consuming on my end, even though I'm not doing any of the work. It's a process, and there's different ways to do them all.
And if they're hand tracing it, where does it go from there into a computer?
Well, they're hand tracing it in a computer, so they're using a modeling software, and there's several different softwares they can use in order to actually build out the models. But basically, it works similar to a three-dimensional Photoshop, maybe, if that helps you kind of understand. So you can put an image in the background and then start tracing wireframes in front of that over all the different lines. And that's how that happens. Now, my job kind of comes in to help with rate of fire and recoil impulse and what happens when you add this component and that component into the mix, ballistics.
Me and you're going to fight.
Barrier penetration. Probably not, because I don't think you've played anything I've worked on.
Okay.
Fair enough.
It was one of those things where it's like, we'll talk about Modern Warfare, and I'm like, I didn't work on Modern Warfare. I have some qualms with how they do things. So
perfect. All right, maybe we'll be friends.
We're gonna be best of friends then after this. Are you familiar with the Call of Duty Modern Warfare?
Yeah. Played it on release. Had fun with it. I particularly enjoyed the campaign. Did a little bit of multiplayer fun after that. I don't have much time to play games anymore unless I'm just doing it for a work reason. It's one of those things, I guess. Nick,
well, I would think that you want to just to see what other people are doing, your competition, and get tips and tricks on maybe what you could do with yours to make it better, or we're so much far ahead than these guys or whatever. But I would think that you would do that for that reason alone. But
yeah.
But let's talk about. So you scanned the gun. You've done a 3D rendering of it digitally. They go in. What do they do when they get that? What happens to that?
They start working on animations, and so for the most part, that doesn't require too much of my input in theory. A lot of the problems you run into, sometimes you'll see it in other games where things are just done wrong, like cycling or manipulating your slide or your bolt when you're doing attack reload, and it's it's not a failure. Mag releases from the wrong place, where you can clearly see, like, he indexed his finger, his trigger finger on a mag button that's not there on a Steyr AUG. Yeah, it's just things like that, little things where I have to kind of like step in and go, no.
Revolver ejecting the shells.
Oh yeah, it's another one. It's another biggie.
Or all the other guns not ejecting.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of that comes into power, though, I'm sure, on the operating system, and the design of the software and everything. Like, until recently, you just couldn't have that much stuff going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's older games that got it right, and then there's stuff that comes out now that's just not important to them. What I will say, for the most part, that Modern Warfare did extremely well was just getting the urgency of mag changes and manipulating your weapon. They got that right. And a lot of the movements are pretty accurate. There's some L-shaped reloads in situations that you would not be even attempting to fuck with that. Like,
oh yeah. Attack reload is what you're talking about, where you retain a magazine.
Yeah. So you're not going to be doing that when lead is in your face. So it's one of those, but I think they really were happy with their animations, and they wanted them as flashy as possible, and that's okay. For the most part, they nailed it.
The tack reloads in this game, I don't know if you have my screen pulled up, Marty, but the tack reloads in this game, that right there is the best tack reload you're ever going to see anyone ever do in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's with a 60 round mag. Do that with 2 60 round mags. And where did he put it? I mean, I guess he's got a dump pouch, but that's fast.
His hand's going down somewhere to put it. Yeah,
dump pouch.
Reloads are a constant fight to have amongst myself and game developers. It's fun because they're really realistic games when they go in and they're like, oh, we want this, slow paced and methodical and very realistic, and then I get like a 9-second reload, and I'm like, what are you doing? No, like, empty mag bad. It goes on the floor as fast as you can. Gun has to get back on the line. Like nobody is gonna do this slow fishing around in their pockets for a magazine. You gotta speed it up, and that's where the gameplay balance versus real life, you have to find that sweet spot. It's
and that gets into a different aspect, kind of further along than where we're at, because they actually don't they have like live people and they're recording their movements with that, what is that called, where they put the balls everywhere? And
motion capture.
Yeah, so that's part of the motion capture aspect of it, right?
Some places use mocap and some don't. So there's
so how are they getting the reloads and the
hand animation?
Do what?
Yeah, they animate by hand. Yeah, they animate everything by hand.
Create it from scratch. Make it look good.
As far as I know, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that the issue with motion capture is that you record that motion and you tie it to the gun, and that's that. And if you're doing a hand animation, you can actually get it to do like procedural variation. So it'll actually be slight imperfections and slight changes to the movement, which looks more realistic, because even in the back of your brain, it's not perfectly identical every time you do it.
They get a lot of the animation really good in this game. As far as like like you're talking about hand manipulation. The only thing you can kind of see is like where you're holding the rifle right there. The wrist looks kind of weird, but I mean, it's a 3-dimensional world that you're trying to put on a 2-dimensional screen. So I mean, it's going to look like that. But yeah, when you're just grabbing stuff,
put the arm somewhere where it's not in your way.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, you're doing
you don't have to, but yeah.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Their animation department is really good, and there's an urgency and a bit of authority going on with all your manipulation. And I mean, they did a fantastic job there. I can't give them a hard time about their animation.
Yeah. So they take the guns, they've 3D rendered them, they've animated them, they've put them in there. What about like we're talking about the magazines, the recoil, the sound? How does all that come into play? How do they, marry all these different components into
sound is
firearm?
Sound is done a couple of different ways. Really large, big budget studios with a really huge audio department can create, if they chose to, they could create, a dead room that they could fire from. In a perfect world, I'd have 150 acres and do that myself, and I would just strictly work on sound. That would be great, but that's, it's
so you do that yourself. You actually record.
No, and I've said in a perfect world, I would definitely choose to do that and just abandon all else. Most sound comes from sound libraries that people have created and they sell. A lot of the sounds you hear that sound like the best representation of a gunshot you've ever heard in a game aren't even a gunshot. It's something a sound engineer made from scratch, going through different waves and layering them. So it's pretty impressive. That's how that works. So that's the sound, and there's those two ways to do it. Most everybody works off of libraries or an engineer. Doing raw, real-world gunshots is so hard to do. You have to have such incredible microphones in order to get it correctly.
The recording of it is what's so hard. I mean,
yep.
You got so many, and I would think it's almost impossible to get something that just almost mimics the feel of a gunshot. Just the concussiveness of it. I don't even know if it's a word. But it's got to have a shake to it,
It's true, and a screech as well. If you ever forgot your ear pro and you fire a 10-inch 5.56 gun, it's just that like skull fracturing shrill, and it's hard to capture that. And so most of it's sound engineers, and when it starts coming to balancing recoil, magazines, or magazines are just magazines. Like they have a number, they know what the number is. That's how many bullets go in it. So that's fine. Like that one's easy. I can handle that. There's rarely ever an issue with that I got to go back and tinker with. But the recoil and everything I do on my end, and I have a method of trying to keep a constant level playing field with recoil, and that does require a lot of just doing it by sight and feel, and working with them just to get it absolutely correct. My dog's over here coughing. Yeah, it's hard to nail down the recoil. It's just all has to be done by hand. And
I think a lot.
How do you measure the recoil?
On my end, I have a window frame. It's wooden. It's hashed out in degrees, and I can record with my phone and when I'm shooting and actually measure it. And I mean, I've been shooting all my life, so I'm, I guess, better than average in terms of handling recoil. I'm of average height and build, so kind of like a decent baseline for myself. But I can measure like the degrees of muzzle rise off of just going back and looking at that and going, oh, okay. I don't have to do that too often. It's only when it's something really weird or rare that comes in, or if I have to put something on a gun that I'm not used to. Like there's such a large scope of things that I don't just strictly work on like the tier 1 cutting edge of things. Sometimes I have to somebody asks me what an O-light's like, and I'm like, well, it's not great. Like, and it's heavy, and they're like, well, how does that affect things, and how can we make it accurate in a game?
Yeah.
And so we work on that. And
because a lot of these games, and I'll say a lot of them. I mean, really the only ones I'm familiar with are the two I mentioned before. But when you add certain things, then it changes the performance of the firearm in certain ways.
So
how realistic is, putting the optic, putting the foregrip, putting a different butt stock, that kind of stuff. How much do they really care about that, or is that just more for their game?
A lot of pretty much everything I work on, we assign a value to. So we add weight. We add the weight of that object to the weight of the gun. It can affect things in different ways. My favorite way for it to affect things is if you pile a bunch of weight on a gun, you can oversteer. It actually changes the sensitivity and inertia of the gun. So if I put, an IR and then I put a white light and then I put an IR flood, and I've got a aluminum or stainless steel foregrip or something like that on there, and I got an LPVO on top of there, and I start just piling all this weight on this gun, that when you're actually running through and you're trying to switch from target to target, you get some oversteer. Not a lot, like not game breaking and ridiculous, just a little bit that you can tell that gun's just slightly heavier. That's my favorite way to do it.
I mean, I couldn't wave this PKM around like I could this SCAR.
Yeah. That's exactly
this
what
PKM
I'm
that weighs 70 pounds.
With all that
empty.
Yes.
Then you got a 200-round mag on there.
Yeah. And then there's adding value to everything you put on there. So, and it really comes into play with stocks and grips and foregrips and sometimes rails. Adding a bit of control and drive, and it's just numerical values. It's like,
But for all the realism that they try to put into this, there has to be some element of, we can't really put that in there because it's not going to be fun to play and people aren't going to want to buy our damn game. So, at some point, some of this stuff, I'm sure, gets overridden.
Mm-hmm.
By
that's in the mainstream titles. Yeah, it definitely happens.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah, because here it's just what we complain about all the time. You got two guns that are the same caliber and the same configuration, but one of them has more recoil than the other, or it does more or less damage. I mean, you got to make
penetration.
I understand what they're doing, because you got to make it where it's interesting and you can play. There's a reason to play with different guns, but at the same time, dude, there's guns in real world that are better than others. You're not going to use that other one.
It's an argument I have, in meetings quite often. And it comes down to the dreaded gameplay balance conversation. And I always say, real life is already balanced. We can just work off of that metric. It's fine.
What would
and
you
a lot
say?
of this,
yeah, go ahead.
A lot of stuff I work on is realism driven anyway. So it's not really a problem in my space. It's like when you get into the battlefields and the Call of Duties, like they chase two things. You need gameplay balance and a power fantasy, and you have to have both of those things in a mainstream title. Something like Call of Duty. That's what they chase. So.
Yeah. So what would you say is the most important as far as aspect of realism that a game developer is looking for?
It really varies. Photorealism is the most important thing to them. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, things looking the part.
Mm-hmm.
As games progress in barrier penetration and the way that damage is simulated on your character's body, in terms of how injured or dead you are, as those things like broaden, that gets important. I mean, there's a lot more discussions about that. It's probably just comes down to they think it's innovative, but it's really just the concepts that we all think about and talk about in a gunfight anyway. It's like you're peeking your sheetrock wall trying to pie a room. It's you're gonna get wall banged, and
Yeah.
and trying to explain that to a game developer, they're like, oh, people would hate it if like you could just shoot through a door jam, and I was like, they might, like, there might be some complaints, but
well, that's one of our complaints on this is the guys behind plywood, he should be dead right now.
Yeah, but I can shoot through. But I can shoot through a brick wall some other places. Like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I can shoot through both of those in real life.
Yep.
Yeah. Depending on what gun you're using. Yeah, definitely.
Or if we're talking about games, it's IRL, in real life.
Yes.
Got to use the right terminology here.
In real life.
So,
IRL, dog.
So the games that you work on, it sounds to me like those people strive for everything to be as realistic as possible. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so talk about what those two games you mentioned. What are some that are out that you've worked on?
I would probably call back to Insurgency Sandstorm again. We spent a lot of time with those guys. They're still adding new stuff to their game, and it will be coming to consoles, if not this year, next year. But it's out. It's on PC. It's highly regarded, and I would say that as before, it strikes a balance between that realism and gameplay balance. Their magazine handling is a little slow, and their characters a little light on their feet, and that was an okay trade-off, I guess, at the end of things. There you go. But their weapons are amazing. They're very well done.
Oh wow! Look at this. Yeah, the graphics on this thing. So, we talked about the guns, a little bit about accessories, not a whole lot about accessories, but like there, we just saw a helicopter. We saw a helicopter there, and there are other vehicles that some of these games put in, motorcycles and trucks and Jeeps and things like that. Do you deal with any of that aspect of it?
I don't deal with the vehicular stuff at all. Most of that is either artistic interpretation. Activision got the shit suit out of them over the Humvee. I think they ultimately won, but they were tied up in litigation for a long time.
Well, what were they being?
They put the Humvee in their games for years, and all of a sudden, what is it? AM General? Is that who makes them?
AMG, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Whoever who owns Humvee was big mad about it, and took them to court and lost eventually. But that was like a years-long affair. And so, no, I don't really deal with the vehicle stuff.
Well, you bring up a good point. Let's get back to since you don't deal with the vehicles, let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
The guns again, like Call of Duty, they call them something else other than what they actually are.
And I'll never work with a company that does that. And that's kind of my own personal.
But that's just recent. Like when Modern Warfare first came, the original Modern Warfare, whatever, 10 years ago, all the guns were named what they actually were. I mean, for the most part.
They just want to make it difficult for you to go and figure out what it is that you're using that's so awesome and buy it. So
see, that's crazy. If I was a gun manufacturer, I would pay Activision or Infinity Ward or whoever to name my gun what it is, because I've got a built-in consumer at that point.
Well, and right. I'm a manufacturer advocate, and so like I won't work with a company that won't correctly identify every tiny piece of gear. That's just a sticking point for me. I've always been that way. I feel like it's a symbiotic relationship, and Activision and some of the other companies tend to take this, we're going to call it whatever we want approach. And I mean,
why did that change? Because they used to not do that.
It's more of an anti-gun thing. They don't want to.
I think that's what it is, or is it the gun manufacturers not wanting them to use it in their games?
Oh no.
How could you not want?
I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
Well, I would think that.
Yeah.
And that being said, why wouldn't a gun manufacturer make their own video game then at that point.
Oh, it's expensive.
Or buy the video game company and then.
Activision, I don't. What do they make every year?
Because Activision could buy the firearms company.
Probably.
Activision could buy the firearms industry.
Yeah.
like, and that's the sad fact of the matter is that they can do this. It's a point of, I guess it's a social or political thing for them. They just don't want to put the names on there.
Are these companies foreign owned? The majority of them?
Are they? What's that?
Foreign owned.
Oh, I think the problem is that Tencent has a monetary connection to everything, it seems. So there could be Chinese investors in Activision, and I just I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, again, and that's. It's so hypocritical of them that they are promoting, this in their video games. They're promoting these guns. They're promoting the,
killing each other.
I don't want to call it violence, but I mean, it's, realistic.
It is violence.
Yeah.
Realistic battles.
The world has violence in it.
I mean, if you monetize war porn and then decide you don't want people buying guns, even though you're gonna make money off, representing the gun that the people want anyway. They're like, gosh, I want this particular gun. They finally put it in there and they wrote some dumb name on it, but it doesn't matter. I know what it is. It's just disingenuous. I hate it. I won't work with any company that tries to do that. It's just no point for me. I'm there to help them get through the process, but to represent the gun industry at the end of the day. So
Nick, do you have any questions?
No. I guess we can dive into the specific guns and.
So let's do that. And we're, and these games again, Insurgency Sandstorm. You said that's one that's out right now, and the company is Stream. Is that who?
No. Steam is like an online retailer, more or less. Like they.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the company is New World Interactive. So that is who made it. This is their
PC games.
Right now. Well, Steam is for it. It's basically your store for the PC.
Well, not Steam. I'm talking about the Insurgency Sandstorm. That's a PC game.
Yeah, for now. It'll be out on consoles end of this year, beginning of next year.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know what the timeline is on that, but
a lot of the guns that are in Modern Warfare here too, that they're using in this.
Yeah. I mean, when you get into the modern conflict stuff, you're going to see a lot of redundancy. It's just...
Now, do you deal with the grenade launchers and things like that too?
No, and I mean, I'm glad I don't, because would be expensive, and I would have to get an ordnance license, and yeah, I'd have
$200 a shot.
Yeah, I would.
More money you could charge, Yeah. Expertise, more money, right?
That's the goal. Like I said, like in a perfect world, 100 acres and a dead room, I can record audio and do my own mocap. That would be ideal.
I can rent you some. I can rent you a farm out if you want to use it.
There you go. I need to get out of Georgia anyway.
Come on up to Tennessee. We'll be glad to have you here. So, and as we go through this too, as points come up as far as the development and implementation, feel free to chime in, Chris.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know their process at Activision.
Sure.
I can
speculate. Feel free to speculate.
I can speculate. I'm sure they'd hate me over there.
Yeah, fuck them. All right, so Nick.
They won't know.
Nick has been playing Call of Duty over here since we've been talking. If you guys have been watching on the video.
I don't know about playing. I'm just running around shooting random stuff in a private game, but yeah.
Right. And where was that? Where did you get that soccer ball is what I was at. You're shooting a soccer ball.
It's just on this map. I'm in a private, so I just started a private match so we can switch between guns and different stuff and do whatever we want.
I've never done a private match, so I didn't know what you could do there. But yeah, there's the soccer ball. It's crazy. So what we want to do is, for those who play the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, you've seen a lot of these guns. You're like, oh, that looks familiar, but it's called whatever.
Glock.
Yeah, the Glock.
Looks like a salient Glock.
I will tell you, Glock is not too keen on their stuff being in games and identified, and they're one of the
because they're not getting paid. It's all about getting paid. If somebody wants to use their stuff, you got to pay them.
I feel like it is probably it ultimately it is at that
It
point
is. I'm
for
telling
them.
you, that's the way Glock operates. Anybody that does anything, any kind of accessory or anything for their guns, you know, their legal team's all over them. So it's what I mean. I can understand. You know, they're protecting their, you know, their IP that way too. You know,
I think it's at a. I think you're right. It's at a point where everybody that's going to buy a gun is probably going to buy a Glock already, and so they feel like there's just no point in having any marketing out there to reaffirm that.
Yeah, they don't seem to spend a whole lot on marketing, but
yeah,
they're a good group of people. I will tell you that work for Glock here in America, down there in Georgia. So not talking bad about my buds down there, nothing, but I mean that's just the way it is, and they know it too.
I have never even like it's always been the word on the street. Oddly enough, I don't even have a Glock contact. I don't know anybody that works there, and that's really odd for me because I generally know somebody everywhere. And
well,
it's
I can introduce you. I can make some introductions. They're like I said, it's a good group of people down there, and I mean they're all about promoting their guns. They just don't want to pay anything for anybody to do it.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I just want to make sure like I have somebody that I can talk to and find that that sweet spot that let's get within like an 80% likeness because I don't want to get an ugly email, you know. Like
sure.
You know,
it's hard. It's hard not to. I mean, Glock's pretty simple. So
just make the backsides look like an M&P. You're good.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, you know, like it's some things slip by, and then other games get like a nasty, you know, notice, and it's like, well, it's just not even worth worrying about. I don't know anybody there, and I'm sure it would be a long process of climbing up the food chain. But that is one of those weird ones that just apparently does not want people doing their stuff.
Yeah. So let's go through some guns here, Nick.
All right.
You're using one right now. You're using a shotgun. It's like a Remington, maybe.
You know, I'm gonna say, okay, yeah. Oh, that might be a good thing. We can go through and guess, and then you could look at the list because you've got the list, right, of what these actually are.
Yeah, I do. So I can go through and.
I'm gonna say, man, I'm gonna go. Man, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go Mossberg 500A.
Okay, and this is a long list, so I gotta scroll down. This is all the pistols. There's the subs.
Are you on IMFDB? It's itemized at the top in the.
Oh, well, thank you.
In the content.
What's your guess here, Chris? What is this shotgun?
I am not the best shotgun guy when it comes to pumps, but I'll go 870 just to be contrarian. So.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
Just wanted to do something different.
Remington 870 MCS.
Okay, so this is a Remington 870. So here's the first thing I noticed about this gun in the game. Shoulder's pretty good. This is all no attachments, right? So no attachments. The shoulder's pretty good. Handle's a little bit slow. Of course, I feel like in a game you're never going to get weapon handling like you do in real life because if I'm taking and if I'm aiming at this truck tire and I want to aim at that truck tire to the left, that movement right there is as fast as I can move the joystick. Yeah. I can move a lot faster than that. You know what I'm saying? And so you're never really going to get that. And if I'm going to make a big movement over here, well, that gun's going to come off my shoulder and then go back on. So it's actually pretty realistic on the big movements, I feel like. But on the small movements, not so much.
They don't hit you with the arm fatigue, though, in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Well, you just got to shoot more so the gun gets lighter.
Yeah, ground branch will do that to you, and it's more intense the more shit you pile on your gun. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And it'd be cool if you could change how you hold the weapon, you know, because if I'm holding an AR, you know, if I'm holding it like competition style, left hand way out on the handguard, gonna make more accurate, faster shots, but I'm also gonna get tired faster. But if I switch my grip back to the mag well, then I'm using bone support, bone structure to support the rifle. I could stand there all day.
I feel like we need to have you actually holding a gun and doing what you would do with it also, Nick.
Well, you do it, because I'd have to switch my video all around, and I don't know if I'll have to go and get a rifle. You got a gun sitting right behind you.
I don't need the criticism.
But other than that, this shotgun, here's what I hate about any of the guns that are overpowered in this game. They shoot so slow. So this is as fast as I can possibly shoot this gun.
Oh, yeah.
On a console.
It's the fire rate of the gun. I pull the trigger 6 times before that gun shoots again.
But it seems like the PCs can shoot faster.
No, it's the same rate of fire.
Yeah, it's the same rate of fire on a pump. There is a difference with if it's not locked, they can lock your ability to click fast enough, and a lot of games do that to a degree. But
so here's the thing with that shotgun. In real life, I can empty that gun before you shoot it twice in the game. Because you can run a pump gun nearly as fast. Some people say as fast. That's not true. You can run a pump gun nearly as fast as you can the semi-auto.
If you've ever seen any videos of Senior Team Leader Garcia shooting the KSG shotgun, unreal how fast.
Well, and
accurate.
This gun, I don't care if you're shooting. What are we shooting? A Remington? What did we say it was? A 570?
870.
870. Sorry, yeah. I was trying to combine a Mossberg. So if I'm shooting an 870, I don't care if you're shooting 3-inch shells, 3-inch slugs. This gun does not move this much, when you shoot it. It's gonna hurt. Like you shoot 8 rounds through this as fast as you can. It's not gonna feel good, but it's not. Look at that. I mean, how far is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that was like 10 yards. Oh, that's another thing we got to talk about is distance in these games. But 10 yards, that gun moved. That's 20 feet high. That's aiming up there,
And in video game world, that's so far away that doesn't even hurt you.
Yeah. Well, and we complain about that constantly, and I'm not on a game where I can tag something, but if that's 10 yards, this game will say that's like 5,
Yeah.
Like in the game, if you've ever played Warzone, and I know there's a lot of people out there that do because it's the most popular Call of Duty game ever.
Mm-hmm.
When you aim at something and you tag it, it tells you how far it is. Well, I tag something that's like 1,100 yards away. In the game, visually, it looks like it's 2 miles. Like I can shoot a target. I can shoot a 12-inch target at 1,100 yards with the right rifle, but in the game, at 1,100 yards, you can't even see the person. Yeah. Like, it's crazy.
So switch to a semi-auto. You got a semi-auto shotgun?
Oh no, I don't, but I can build one. Just take 1 second. Which one you want? The Origin, the VOK, or the Jack? Oh, the VOK is not one. Let's do the Jack.
AA-10.
Yeah. I don't.
The Jack.
Yeah.
So the Jack is the AA-10 or AA-12. I'm sorry, AA-12.
Let's add a mag on it so we don't have to do so many reloads. A drum magazine. Gotta eat a grenade real quick.
Gotta kill yourself.
All right.
And there it is.
So, auto shotgun. First thing I'd say about this gun in the game, we're not going to be running around with a 32-round shotgun this fast.
Yeah.
No, those things are heavy.
Look at this. Look at this. Yeah, they're heavy anyway. I don't know what they weigh. You might have to Google dry weight of an AA-12, but
do that.
I mean,
I think they're supposed to be light, but the drums are what add all the weight.
Stainless surgical steel, I think.
Yeah, they're stamped steel. I mean, they're like. But yeah, so mobility. But they want to add mobility because they take range away from the gun. And then that's where you get into what you're talking about. How realistic do you want to be adding attachments to it? Well, if you want this crazy mobility with a shotgun, you got to take away something. What are you going to take away? Probably range, because if I've got this mobility and there's somebody sitting in the upper deck up there, and I can just smoke them with a shotgun, well, that's not fair. But you know what? Real life's not fair.
7.3 kilograms with a 32 round drum.
So that's like 30 pounds? No, 20 something pounds.
16.
Oh, wow, I'm way off. 2.2 times whatever. Yeah, sorry, I can't math tonight. So I mean, that's
It's
heavy.
16 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a heavy gun. But it is short and compact, so, holding it up close for a long time wouldn't be too difficult. But yeah, you're not going to just run around like this. And I got 57 rounds of shotgun on me.
If I actually ever did one of those, worked on one of those in a game, there's so many models out there already for them that are pretty quality. And I think, didn't they go under? Didn't they get in trouble for selling, illegally selling SVRs or full auto guns or some shit? There was something going on with their frame that they sold a bunch of guns and something
the
happened there.
original guy?
Whoever it was, like a couple of years ago, that did the 3,500 batch of semi-auto guns, and then I guess a bunch of them were using auto-rated receivers in them. I can't remember what happened with that, but I know a whole lot of people, I think, got their guns taken away from them, and there was nothing to replace them with, or money.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. But if I ever did anything like that, that heavy, that immediately starts getting lighter halfway through the mag and full auto, I think I'd definitely play with the muzzle rise. When you start ditching that much weight, like halfway through the mag, it starts getting squirrely.
Let's see what it does. I will put no controller input into this, and we'll just empty a mag.
Yeah.
So
look at the rise.
It just rises up. So I mean, maybe a little bit accurate as far as what you're talking about. But here's the thing: you shoot one shot. This is the same cartridge as the last shotgun we were shooting.
12 gauge.
Look at that.
Way less.
Yeah.
But that other one's a pump gun. It does so much more damage because it shoots slower.
Yep.
Well,
that's a gameplay balance thing. It comes into play, and they do that to cater to people that just have an affinity for a certain thing.
So back to the games,
because they want you to be able to use all guns. They want you to be able to make an argument to use all the guns, but then that just kills some real. And I get it. We're the guys sitting here going, well, it needs to be more realistic, but you can jump off a 3-story building and not break your legs, Yep. So I mean, you got to make. And
you can run around all day without taking a break.
Yeah.
But you're saying, Chris, that the games that you work with, the people that you work with, that what we were talking about, the consistency is there. So whether they're using a 12 gauge AA12 or a Remington with a 12, it's going to be the same as far as recoil goes, right?
Yes, correct.
So,
now that I'm not working on anything that has an AA12 in it. I mean, like, that's an interesting gun that didn't,
But are you working with a semi-auto? Any kind of semi-autos?
Yeah, actually, working on a different one now.
Or not full autos. I'm sorry, full auto.
No full auto shotguns. No.
Okay.
But a semi-auto, the most recent I am about to do the deep dive on is Mossberg 930.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you're going to take that apart. I have to start reaching out to people that make, hopefully somebody makes some aftermarket stuff for the 930.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff, because that's the gun Jerry Mitchell shoots in 3-gun.
This is one of his. It's the JM Pro, I believe. So
I'm holding up, this is a Kalashnikov Comrade.
Mm-hmm.
This is their.
That's cool.
They're in between version. It's not a rifle. It's not a pistol. It's just it's a rifle. I mean, it's a gun.
Yep.
It's a firearm.
It's a firearm, right?
Yes.
And this thing kicks like a mule, I will tell you.
So, but I mean, back to shotguns. Yeah, you got to balance it, because here's the thing: that sign up there, I don't know. To me, if this is IRL in real life, that to me looks like it's like 60 yards, maybe.
Yeah.
And this shotgun would smoke somebody right there.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's dead.
Yeah.
less than a
not
second.
you can put different rounds in there too. You can put
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
in.
you put some flight control, you put some federal flight control in here, and I'm shooting people at 100 yards, you know? And you put in that flight control, you shoot them at 200 yards. You're only hit them with a couple of pellets, but we're talking about it's like 33 caliber or 35 caliber, depending on your buckshot. You know, so it's like getting hit with a 9mm pistol at 200 yards. Except for here's how many rounds do I have? 21. So here's 200 9mm coming at you. Yeah, you're not dodging that. You know,
so, you gotta get away from that. Yeah, you're gonna get hit at least once.
They got to balance it somehow, and I understand that.
So there's a good example of the shotgun. So let's go to an AR.
All right, let's go. I made a kit with 2 ARs that are
one of those
similar.
Very, very criminal moves where they take an X95 or a Tavor and don't understand that's a 16-inch barrel, so they make it inert because they think it's a tiny barrel.
That one.
Which one do you have? Because I'm looking at the list here.
A Ram 7 and an M16. I think an M16. No, an M13. Sorry.
So a Ram 7. That's the IWI. Their bullpup. What is that called? It's
Tavor previously and X95 now.
So
but I think this is a Tavor. Yeah, it's a Tavor.
Yeah, it's
a Tavor. The handling on it feels so good, like it's so fast, which it is. I mean, I've shot one of these a lot.
Sponsors of the Talking Lead AK Corner, by the way.
There you go.
IWI is?
Yes.
That's awesome. Jeremy's a great dude, and I've done a ton of work with him. Love him.
Oh yeah. We're actually giving away a Lil Ace. So,
right on.
Stay tuned.
The recoil on this gun. Oh, we're down to 8 seconds. Hang on, we got to go into another game. So I'll give him this. Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
I gotta start another game. They only last 10 minutes. I'll give him this between the bullpup and the standard configuration, AR-15 type rifle. The recoil feels like IRL. On the Tavor versus the AR.
That's good. It's often that one. Nobody ever understands it. I think I'd like to think I've put enough good IWI energy out there about what that gun actually does and all its pros, because it really is a nice road warrior too, especially if you're ever on a long road trip. It's a nice no stamp champ.
So they're calling it the CTR 21 and the TAR 21 Tavors that they have.
What I don't like about this is you have to put an attachment on it or a lot of attachments on it to get it to feel like it really would. Because I mean, if you look at the picture down there in the bottom right corner of the screen, this thing is super compact. You got both your hands right up there on the front of the gun, and there's nothing to move, right? But if you don't put any attachments on it, I mean, that's actually not that bad. But whenever you go to something like the M13, I mean, look, it barely moves, So I think that's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, Activision's always so strange to me. Like, they always pick a direction, a cardinal direction for like the recoil to go for every gun,
right.
And it's just funny. Yeah. It's just like a puzzle. That's all. The only reason it's there. It's just like, oh, we're gonna recoil up and hard right, and then.
Well, here's the thing. Every one of these guns should do that, because look where my arm is bracing the gun.
Yep.
Right. So when I pull this trigger, that gun should go up a little and it should go right a little bit. When you shoot the Tavor, it decides it wants to go left for some reason. It's very strange. And nobody's ever reloaded a Tavor that fast.
No, that's why I like the X95 over the Tavor itself, because of the mag release.
Which one are you using now?
This is M13.
Okay, so the M13, I think those are all Colts, I think is what they're basing those off of.
AR-15 with a long handguard is what it looks like.
Yeah.
This one's pretty.
That is colorful. You
What do we have on this gun? We got ambi mag release, it looks like. I can't tell. Yeah.
I don't have any. Okay, good. It doesn't have an ND lever on it.
So
a bad lever?
Yeah.
The Colts,
Someone-
they got the Model
someone's-
933, MK18 mod, M16A3. They've got a Colt 9mm SMG, XRK, M4, and the M4A1 carbine.
You were talking about the reloads and stuff, the animations. I think they nailed it on this. I mean, if you watch when I hit this reload, you can see the mag release move.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome.
Do it
That
again.
is, it's crazy. And then you'll hit the charging handle, I think, or you hit the bolt drop on the empty reload. Yeah, there you go.
Bolt
You can
drop.
actually see the bolt release
Oh.
is sticking out when it goes empty. Look at that.
Yeah.
And then you see the mag release move at the same
I've
shot
never
there.
noticed that.
Watch the mag release and watch the bolt release.
Their gun
So
guy
awesome.
is great. Like the guy that whoever they have in the house that is driving the driving force behind what they did with this particular game. Just this one. I can't speak on the other ones, but Modern Warfare was incredible in terms of just little details like that just often aren't seen in the main line.
Let's move to an AK now.
Let's see.
Show a little
you-
AK because I
you
think
know what?
the
I've got,
AK.
I've got a throwing knife on that kid. I can't kill myself. Hang on, I gotta start another one because I can't die.
That's fine. But I think the AKs they've got them wrong on this game. Definitely.
So
You're an AK fan, aren't you, buddy?
he is
Mhm.
a big AK fan. AK
Man.
nerd.
Just recently.
We need to get have you had Bandito Bill on your show yet?
I've never heard of Bandito Bill, but he sounds like an interesting cat.
That picture I sent you earlier of that AK with that really sexy chassis on it, that's Sure Shot USA, and he owns Sure Shot USA. We need to get old Bandito Bill on the show. He's an awesome guy.
Get him on the AK corner. Definitely.
That needs to happen. We just
Okay,
need it
let's
to happen.
make a note. Let's talk about that off air. Definitely.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have to breeze through some of these because my phone just said it's at 20%. It's been running video for 2 hours now. Let's see where.
Yeah, we're just gonna wrap. We're getting ready to
AK.
wrap here anyway. So I just
All right. So we got an AK and an AR set up in this class. I'll tell you one thing that I want to grab about is hip fire. Because if you watch the hip fire pattern, okay, I shoot one shot, it hit right about there. I'm going to aim at that shot. Well, yeah, here, I'll aim at that shot. Hits a little bit further right, probably. That one
Yeah.
hit dead center. That low and then dead center. Left and then top right. Okay, here's the thing. In real life, IRL, I'm going to keep saying that like an idiot. In
I'm gonna
real
say it
life,
tomorrow too, and the next day.
yeah. In real life, if I am holding a rifle at, this is probably like 7 yards, and I hip fire it, there's where the shot hit, dead center.
Hold on. I
Okay.
got to get the view back. It went away. Okay.
If I hold this hip fire, that hit a little high. When I pull this next shot, I can make a correction for what I just saw.
Hmm.
And it's going to hit dead center. Now, if this is a full auto rifle, which this one is, and I want to hip fire it and shoot that target right there, watch what happens.
Rises. Like a
Well,
oh my God,
sure,
and-
but look at that. It's
That's
like
an
it's like somebody
8-foot
lit a
spread.
somebody lit a fireworks stand on fire. Is what that looks like, dude. If I'm physically shooting a full auto rifle from the hip, I can shoot just as tight a group as I can shouldering it because I have just as much control. Now, do I know where that's going to go? No, because I don't have crosshairs. I don't have a heads-up display giving me crosshairs, but I can walk it in. You know, if I want to shoot the P right there, and my first shot hits over here, I can walk that over there, and it's going to look just like that.
This is one of those things that I really enjoy about working on realistic games because, like, they do this because they think this is a way to solve a problem when and keep people from just running around and
hip firing. Yeah,
Right.
like that guy. If there's a guy up there, they don't want me to just be able to go
but
and just chase him.
Ground Branch, for instance, when you take a game that like makes things realistically accurate, if you're running around and trying to hip fire, you're not gonna hit shit unless you're just like dead on. Like you running around with an MP7 and sprinting like a goon, not giving a shit. You're gonna blow past somebody and go to dump 7 rounds in them, and all 7 rounds are gonna be right behind each other and 1 foot to the left or right. Like it's
well, I'll tell you how they solve this, okay? This is what I think would solve this problem. First of all, don't have that stupid crosshair right there on my screen where I can see where my gun is roughly pointed.
Yeah.
But every time this gun comes down from high ready or whatever sprint, it lands in a slightly different spot. Like it's pointed a little left, or it's pointed a little right, or it's pointed a little higher, or it's pointed a little lower. And you don't have that crosshair.
We call it dead zone, and dead zone is cool and fixes a lot of problems with stuff. It's not really done in Call of Duty, but
when I shoot, I should be able to see where that hits, and I should be able to correct for it. So if I shoot hip fire and it hits way up there by that sign like it just did, I should be able to see that, and I should be able to pull the stick down as I'm shooting, and I should be able to walk those rounds down just like this.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's your AK, Marty. What do you want to talk about?
Is that the AK or is that the Galil?
That's the AK.
That's
the gilded arm.
Can you look at it? Hit your button to look at it.
It's an AK. It's just tricked.
Okay. Got a tricked out one. So just
Rose
aim
gold.
at that. Just aim at that barrel now and just dump a mag.
Right here?
Yeah.
You want me to control it or don't control it?
Control it. But you've got a modded up one. So like just their AK by itself, that would be like bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually feel like the AK is, besides damage, I disagree with almost all the damage in this game. But I feel like the AK, if I don't control it, I mean, you can see what it does.
Yeah.
It feels and sounds and looks the part. Like that, to me, is the way a real AK shoots.
And I think they over-exaggerate the bounciness. I don't think it's that uncontrollable. It's more controllable.
Full auto?
They watched that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They watched that Larry Vickers,
Get my video I've got dumping
Hey.
a 60-round mag of the AK. I keep it
No,
flat.
Yeah.
I think they watched the Vickers video, and it's in that ultra slow-mo where the whole gun's flexing all over the place. It looks like a damn noodle when he's doing that mag dump.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh shit, AKs
So
are flexible.
I mentioned Carnicon earlier.
Hmm?
Are you familiar with Carnicon?
No, I'm not.
All right, so YouTube, he's not around anymore as far as the Carnicon goes, but I think Dugan is somewhat around. But they've got the funniest videos, and they've got one, the AK versus the AR. And if you go watch that video of him shooting the AR is just like precision laser, blah, blah, blah. And then the AK is like bouncing around, and they over exaggerate the stuff, but
yeah.
But the AK wins in all the competitions.
I feel like if I'm shooting that holding a real AK, I'll try and control this.
I can control it better than that.
I mean, that's like 50 yards, dude. That's full auto 50 yards on the and that was probably like a 30-inch group.
Is that a 47 or a 74?
This is a 47.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's okay. I mean, that's not bad.
I mean,
a really well gassed and tuned AK though is a sight to behold. It really is nice. All the first time you ever actually run a good AK, you're like, what in the hell? All the bullshit I've been told about this gun.
Yeah.
Well, if you run an ODS 1775, you get spoiled.
So this is an M16, which I feel like you about the AK. I feel like they screwed up. I mean, that's walking away from me,
Was that you trying to control it, or you just?
Yeah.
It was getting away. Yeah, it wouldn't get away from you that bad at all.
The one of the things I do like about the game, and there's a lot of things I like. I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm just complaining. But the secondary sight is pretty cool. The offset red dot.
I'm glad consoles finally got like a game that would do that. Like we've had that shit in on PC and in really large scale, very badass games for a long time. Arma being an amazing franchise that's been around for years. That it's just I don't. There's a whole rabbit hole to go in. We could talk an entire episode about the company that made that and.
Maybe we'll do that one episode. So we're running long on time here, and Nick's getting ready to lose his connection. So is there one other gun that we want to run through real quick?
Let's
There's
see. I
got
got
guns in this
I got
video.
a subgun AUG and the FAL, which I don't know why the FAL. Okay, maybe why is the FAL and the SCAR called what they are?
The FAL is probably called that because it's so old and abandoned by, like, they're not making it anymore. Like, FN's not. And the SCAR, I don't know. I think SCAR is just used.
Because it sounds cool?
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to keep that because it sounds cool.
Every video game company, when I first meet them, think that all battles are won with a Glock 19, a Chris Vector, and a SCAR each. And that is that.
Chris is in this game, and they call it what do they call it?
Fennec.
Yeah, I love the guys. I love the guys over at Chris. Mike is my homeboy. Been my friend in the gun industry since I started. Awesome dude. I love the guys over there. It's just, it's so weird, like, that the Vector is always like the murder machine. It's like, you got like 1600 RPMs and it's just
fast rate of fire with a decent caliber. You know, I mean, I don't think it gets done justice in this game. It does. It is one of the more popular Modern Warfare guns, but you got a whole bunch of other guns that just wreck it. Like you got 9mm subguns that have a 600 round per minute rate of fire that just smash it. And I'm sitting here going, okay, like you said, 1600 rounds a minute at 45. I mean,
the 9mm AK is really hot right now. I think from the Modern Warfare standpoint, I don't know what they call a PP-19 or the VITYAs in Modern Warfare, but
they've got some really funny calibers in this game. I don't know if you've looked at those, Marty, but they've got a lot of really old calibers that are either tank rounds or don't exist anymore. Like they've got anti-artillery guns, you know, that are. I've tried to think of one that's like a 12mm subgun. I'm like, really?
The 12.7
PP-19 Bison.
Yeah. So what gun? I looked at it one time, but I can't remember. But what gun was actually built in the 12.7?
12.7 is their 50 cal, and also I think it's the same, dimensionally the same as their 12 gauge, like their shotgun shell. I think it's just that dimension. There
it is. Man. Oh, it's a HDR sniper rifle, 12.7 by 108. That's an anti-vehicle or anti-artillery round that's shot out of like a. It's not a shoulder fire gun. I mean, you can lay behind it and shoot it.
There's a Russian gun that fires that's a CQB bullpup. I mean, CQB holds like 15 rounds, like 10 or 15 rounds. There is a 12.7, and I can't remember what the name of it is. It's a really weird gun.
This one's funny. This one's funny too. The Rytec is a 25 by 59 explosive round.
Explosive round. I like that.
A 25 by 59. Like, why wouldn't you make that the 50 BMG? Like,
so I have no experience shooting explosive rounds, so I don't know how realistic that is.
We have to talk to Kentucky Ballistics. He deals with exploding stuff.
Nice. That's just a really strange. Okay, hang on a second. Semi-automatic anti-material rifle chambered in 50 BMG. A 25 by 59 explosive payload variant is officially listed as experimental. Okay, so that's where they get away with it, is they just say that's experimental.
Experimental, yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of these, and I really like again, the modern warfares and the battlefields, and I think I would like the games that you're talking about, Chris, just because that they use realistic guns. You know, the games like, what are those space? They use all the space guns. I hate playing those games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Halo.
Halo. Yeah. That's prime example right there. You know, I just don't like it. I hated the version of Call of Duty that they came out with, where they were trying to make it like Halo, and the people could jump around and they had jetpacks or whatever. And you remember that one?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I remember that. Infinite Warfare.
I don't know. It was so stupid. I hated it. It's not what this game's about.
And then they had the Black Ops ones with the robot armies. They had a Black Ops that was like cyborgs and robot armies. Yeah,
I didn't either.
How good a shape do you have to be in to do this?
You got to do what?
I said, how good a shape do you have to be in to do this?
Oh, to keep
Jump nonstop and then dead sprint.
And slide. Do a slide. Show a slide.
I mean, the slides because you fall down because you're tired. All right.
Do a slide. Do a slide in the
is.
soccer net, just like a soccer player does. Now take your shirt off.
And women's soccer, we're protesting.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So let's see. A kilo. I'm gonna guess. Kilo is that. I'm gonna say ARC or a SCAR. The 223 SCAR.
A kilo?
Yeah. What's your guess? Or are you already looking at it?
It looks like a SCAR.
No,
It does, but Bushmaster ACR maybe.
They have a SCAR.
Right, but that's the 7.62 SCAR.
There's a SCAR H, an FN SSR, an FN SCAR SC. There's a Heckler & Co. G36. That's not that.
Wait, is that the HK 433?
I don't think so, because that has a bigger handguard.
There's an HK 433. There is one. Let me click on it.
That's the fucking vaporware, the gun that doesn't exist. That's the thing HK brought out. Like,
yeah, that is it. The Kilo 141 is the HK 433. Yeah.
So
Nice.
Never shot one of those, but it's the same caliber, same.
Nobody will ever shoot one.
Length is this M16, okay, or M4? Yeah, M4. This is M4. Look at the difference in recoil. All right, here's the M4, not controlled. I'm gonna aim at that little circle right there. Okay, same gun or same caliber, same barrel length, same basic configuration,
same ammo.
And it's
like
lighter.
look at that. It goes up like 2 feet and then stops.
Yeah.
So is that SA on there? Is that Salient Arms?
No.
It's just something that they put on there.
No, that's
so. I want to know why. Like, why did they do this, Chris? Why did they do this?
I can't tell you. I don't know why they put a gun that doesn't exist in there. Like, I mean, like I would love for that gun to exist. HK made a couple of prototypes and went to SHOT Show with them, and they were like, "This is the next thing we're doing," and then never mentioned it again.
That's
maybe the recoil was so awesome on it, nobody could stand it.
Yeah. But they can't. I mean, it's redundancy at that point. Then why have two guns that do the same thing? So,
right, but they could flip that around because I think the 433 is supposed to be really light. That was what was going for. But it's short, fast, and maneuverable. But high recoil would be a perfect marriage right there.
Right. It's instead of the M6 or M4 being ridiculous, you know.
A lot of this, I think, starts and you can see this happen sometimes in development where they'll do like 5 guns and then they'll balance those out and then they want to add more guns later, and it's like, okay, well, this is what this gun does, and they're like, oh yeah, but you know, like the formula we have for these, yeah, and it's like, oh shit, it's like, well, we can either rewrite them all or try and find a recipe inside of your own game world to make these all feel realistic. And,
one of the other. Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off.
That's it. It's just feel realistic sometimes.
One of the other guns that isn't in Modern Warfare, it's in Warzone, because it includes all the Black Ops guns also, is the Carve 2, which is the what's that gun that fired a caseless cartridge?
The G11?
G11, yeah, that's what the Carve 2 is.
It's crazy.
Back out and go to that.
That was another.
I just look at it.
It's another thing HK rolled out that never happened.
I've got some.
Then that was like in the 70s or something, wasn't it?
It might have been.
Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah. This the G11. Well, no, not that one.
Space gun. That's the game. That's the in-game gun.
It's like a rail gun.
Oh, really? Okay, that's not a G11.
It's
well, up top. Maybe up top looks good. The G11 didn't have a mag that went on the bottom. It had some sort of weird. I think it loaded like the P90 did.
Yeah, it shot from the top.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's weird. It's like an interpretation of the G11, but not quite.
Yeah, there's I think Black Ops 2 had the G11 and it was more accurate. But yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. It says burst fire tactical rifle, moderate firepower with improved rate of fire, recoil control, effective at mid range. If you read the description online, it says it fires a caseless cartridge and all this crap.
Yeah, the G11 was an interesting idea because it was a 2x4 with a grip on it.
A 2x4, yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
Look them up. It looks so uninteresting. It's like Glock the rifle. Like, it's just so subdued. Like, there's nothing going on with it. It's just a vertical grip on a rectangle.
How about a nail gun, Marty?
I think you're about out of the juice, aren't you there, Nick?
Yeah, it just went to 10% like a couple minutes ago.
Okay. Let's wrap this up. I mean, obviously there's tons more that we could talk about, and maybe we'll do another episode on this, but very interesting, Chris, on how they go about taking the real stuff and putting it into these games. Maybe we can get another episode, like I said, maybe we can talk about some more as we reflect back on this. There's probably some things that you probably wish that we would have talked about and could have talked about.
Absolutely.
We could do that in another episode. And I know there's tons more guns in here that we could go and we could compare. We barely even talked the pistols. We talked the Glock. And then there's a whole nother aspect of this game with the Black Ops, that we didn't even get into that Nick was talking about there. So we definitely could do more episodes on this. So if you leadheads are interested in that, and there's other people that we could bring on too. Chris knows some people. There were some people lined up that couldn't make it, unfortunately, that would have had some input to add to this.
That would probably just be ideal to be an entirely different, like, very focused subject matter. Probably just talk about training doctrine and VR on that one.
Yeah, I think that would be a good episode too. So shoot me an email, talkinglet@gmail.com. If you guys enjoy this episode, want to get more on this topic and subject. If you're a gamer out there, let me hear from you. Nick and I, as we mentioned earlier, we play the Call of Duty, Modern Warfare. We get on there frequently. I mean, we're not on there every day, but shoot me a PM with your gamer name, and we'll try to hook up and maybe play a few rounds of Modern Warfare together.
Warzone.
Yeah, Warzone. And I want to try those games, Chris. If you can get us some sort of access to those games, I'd like to try those out. And
we can check out what your PC capabilities are. It's really, we got that chip shortage, so it's like tough to build a gaming PC right now. But we can talk offline about that. We'll see what you're working with.
Or like you said, if they're going to be coming out with console versions of them, that'd be interesting too to check that out.
Absolutely.
But really great content there. Thank you so much, Chris, for taking the time to be on and share your knowledge with me and the Leadhead Brigade. If you guys have questions, if you guys have questions for Chris, is there a way they can get in touch with you?
Devil-Eyed Elvis on Twitter.
Devil-Eyed Elvis.
Yes.
And there's an interesting story behind that too. He shared it with me offline. But that's like one of the coolest handles I've ever heard. I love that. Devil-Eyed Elvis.
I sure appreciate that, man. I've had it for a long time, and it was given to me. So
well earned too from the story that I heard. So, guys, get in touch with Chris there on the Instagrams. Let him know you heard about him here, and of course he works with Leviathan Group. Our good buddy Chris Wood over there. He's who introduced us and made this possible. So go show Leviathan some love, and we'll probably get them on again sometime in the near future and find out some movie projects that they've got coming up. Chris had alluded to some things that they've got coming up here in the near future. So we're looking forward to that. But Leviathan, is it Leviathan Group on Instagram? Is that what it is? Or
that is correct. Leviathan Group on Instagram, and LeviathanGroupLLC.com is our website.
Very cool. And Nick, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be on. I know we cut into some of the gaming time tonight.
I know. We're gonna have to get on. What time is it?
It's 11.
We're gonna have to get on.
I'm still jacked, so it's gonna take me a minute to get tired. So yeah, we'll play a few rounds here when we get off. But you're off of all the social medias and stuff, aren't you? Or are you still on?
I mean, I've still got the Beastmaster accounts, but I'm not on really. I don't really have much reason to be. Just doing my own thing.
Gotcha. But if you guys want to reach out to Nick, you can get to him through me, talkingledgmail.com, or PM me on the social medias. And maybe we can go hunting again sometime soon. You got any trips scheduled?
No, you know what? Yesterday I was just talking about trying to find a wolf hunt. I really need to go get a wolf. I've been saying that for 4 or 5 years, and I've tried on all these other hunts. I've gone on mountain lion and lynx and some other hunts trying to just catch a wolf out in the open. A bear hunt, we saw a wolf, but he was at like 1,400 and on the move. So I mean, they're like the hardest. It's the lowest percentage hunt there is a in the wild on the hoof wolf hunt where you're not baiting them. And I would really like to get it done. And I've got a good spot in the house for it to go. But so I don't know. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about doing that.
Well, I'm trying to shoot one. I'm trying to adopt one.
Oh yeah.
I've got a Malamute, a husky. She looks like a wolf. But I got this new thermal that we need to try.
ATN? What is that?
No, this is an AccuFire.
AccuFire. I've never seen one.
Yeah, Incendus, AccuFire, INCENDIS. Check them out. Really enjoying this thing. I've taken it out a couple of times to do some target shooting with it, but very impressed with this thing.
Bring it over.
That's interesting. I'm gonna be spending probably the next year very, very deep in night vision and thermal, trying to get that straightened out, squared away, and correctly represented, because green tint just ain't cutting it for me in terms of night vision, and I think we've developed a way to simulate that a little bit better, and so I'm gonna get into it. So
well, that would be a whole nother topic that we could get into and talk about.
Yeah, I think hopefully I'll have like I guess like a knowledge base and a workflow probably in the next, hopefully 5 or 6 months. I got to get back on the phone and start reaching out, talking to all the manufacturers and seeing what's going on first. But
well, I can hook you up with these guys. They're kind of new in the game. They've been around about 4 years, but this is very, very impressive piece of kit right here.
What's that?
That's actually not a bad setup.
It's got a 4x up to 40, 1x, 2x, and 4x on the magnification. And then it's got a heat display. You can do white hot, black hot, red accent, and green hot.
Interesting. Green light.
And it's got a USB connection here.
Mm-hmm. Hook it to a anchor battery.
Anchor battery, or you can put a recording device, a DVR on there, and you can record, or you can do both. You have a thing, and they got a little mounting thing where you can mount it on there. It's got the quick detach. And you can co-witness it with your scope. It's pretty cool. So, yeah. So I've been trying that out. I don't know what brought that up, but anyway. Big thanks again to all our sponsors for the show. Go show them support. Factory 47. Go to factory47.com. That's where you're going to get the AK Corner logoed T-shirts, our tumblers that we have there from the AK Corner at Factory 47. That's Factory 47 with a K. Use the code LEADAHEAD and you're going to get 10% off. We've got hoodies, we've got our T-shirts, we've got women's shirts there. And if you listen to the last episode of the AK Corner, James has got some new things coming out that we're going to be talking about soon. 1776 United, that's where you're going to go and get our classic logo with the flying bullets and our Leadhead Brigade logoed swag at 1776 United. And that code is Talking Lead. You get 20% off. This is one of their shirts here, my Ghost Gun shirt. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. That's cool. Ghost Gun Operator. That came from 1776 United. And then, of course, Keltec. They're going to be sponsoring us, as I mentioned earlier, at the 2021 NRA. Make sure you come by and see us and visit Keltec there. We're going to have a lot of our friends of the show and some of our other sponsors will be dropping by. And as we mentioned earlier, we're going to be giving away a Galil Ace from IWI during the 2021 NRA this year. Details of that coming up soon. Make sure you pay attention. And then Occam Lube, which is a subsidiary of the Occam Defense Solutions, who make the ODS 1775 AK-47 or AKM. OccamLube.com. You can use the code LEADHEAD, all caps. You're going to get 10% off there. We just announced that code the other day. Nemo Arms. You can go to their website, use the code TL10. You're going to get 10% off there, and that includes their firearms. You're going to get 10% off their firearms as well. They make cans, they make pistols, shotguns, and of course some of the best AR platform rifles that you're going to find on the market today at Nemo Arms. And there's plenty more. I've got other codes, so just stay tuned. Each and every episode, we've got codes, discount codes. We've got giveaways, just all kinds of cool stuff. I think I gave something away from Leviathan last time Chris was on. We'll have to do another giveaway with Leviathan.
Yeah, I'll talk to the guys and see what we got.
I got one of those cool Thanos for president.
Yes,
you guys did.
Yes, those are so great.
I love
we
that.
did that shit, and then like everybody started stealing it.
Really?
Oh man, we did it, and then within 90 days, I was just seeing them everywhere. Like everybody that made a T-shirt had one.
I thought it was brilliant. I was lucky enough to get one of those, so thank you, Chris, for that. Appreciate it. But yeah, guys, enjoyed this episode. Again, thank you for taking the time, Chris, Nick. If you guys liked it, like I said, let me know. We'll do another one. And until then, till the next episode, Leadheads, as always, keep your loved ones close.
And your Xbox is closer.
And your firearms closer. There you go.